north of Hampton. It did shut down.
Did it really?
Yeah, I listened to it probably 4 or 5 times, shift back and forth, so the volume's all the way down at the moment. You guys tried that? No, I'm sorry, it is northwest of here, it's north of Hampton. So I thought it was down further south, down like Swisher, kind of tucked in, Belle Plain, all them areas. See now, just back up.
Yep.
If you hear the static, it's back up again.
Is it back up again?
At the moment.
It is.
It'll be down again in a minute.
We uninstalled some software and it was working. I was in here half an hour one day recording. Yeah. Well, let's get going on this. Welcome to the February 21st, 2023, 5:15 Evansdale City Hall Council meeting. Call to order and the roll call.
Bergman, Nichols, Osborne. Here. Siebel.
Here.
Smock.
Yes. Or here. You catch it? No, oh, come on. She's sleeping already.
I'll take the check on that one.
So we're having some record audio difficulties again. Imagine that. Just give me a couple seconds and. We got a really good quote on a new one, a new mixer. Come on.
What's a good quote?
2,000
You paid 15 for that.
for the whole system. That was like the Walmart brand. Okay.
You have to yell tonight?
Yeah, we might just have to speak loud tonight. Number 3, approval of the February 21st, 2023 agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we're going to be talking about the budget workshop tonight. First and foremost, I did ask Chief Dean to talk a little bit about the police force and kind of what's been going on with them, and just talk about the importance of hiring, I shouldn't even say hiring, but replacing Cass Dietz.
You gotta get your watchers.
Good evening. Oh, we have an atomic clock.
You got an atomic one?
Yep,
See, mine says I'm right on time.
you're late.
We'll get you updated. We'll get you updated.
I'm just teasing you.
So the mayor had asked me to come in and talk a little bit about the police department as it relates to our staffing. I know there's some discussion about not filling the position that's open, depending on how you look at it, whether it's filling Cass Dietz' position or filling that floater position that we've had now for at least a couple of years. You know, we're a small department, and when we get cases, we wear a lot of different hats. Sometimes we're an investigator, sometimes we're the traffic cop, sometimes we're you know, the negotiator or the person to talk to for somebody who's having some difficulties. The point I'm trying to make is that we have become very dependent upon that position. At least in my experience here in the last year or so, it seems like we've seen a little bit of an uptick in some of the types of cases that we've received that require a lot of our man hours. Without going into a lot of detail, we've had some lottery cases that have required some of our officers to spend numerous hours sitting at a desk doing investigative work, whether it's calling people, whether it's getting on the computers and doing some research or whatnot. I know when citizens or council members drive past the police department and they see a squad car sitting there, and it seems as though that car hasn't moved for hours, if not longer, it's easy to come to this conclusion that those officers must just be in there doing nothing. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. You know, as it relates to priority, when it comes to trying to prioritize what we do on a daily basis, I think most people, including the council and myself and the public, want to see our officers out there being visible, out there patrolling and trying to, you know, actively prevent crime. But unfortunately, as I was saying, when it comes to trying to prioritize what's most important, patrolling falls clear at the bottom. Patrolling gets done when we don't have anything else to do. And I'm not trying to make it sound as if that's not important. It is important. But as a hierarchy, when we have cases that require investigations, patrolling is the last thing that's going to get done. Here this last week, we had a shooting that occurred in town, and most of you probably don't know anything about that. And I would argue that that's a luxury that you get to have living in this community and not knowing that there was a shooting in town. That shooting required every one of the full-time officers to come in and help with that investigation, on top of trying to handle the calls that we were receiving that day, just the regular calls. It was a very busy day. Like I say, trying to handle that shooting situation on top of the calls that we were getting. So we were very taxed as it relates to our manpower. I know that it's a good idea or a great thought that we could lean on our part-timers to help pick up some of the slack that we might see here and there. And we are grateful to our part-timers. I don't want to sound like we're not, but it's difficult sometimes to get a person who already has a full-time job elsewhere and maybe has worked there 40 hours that week to want to come in and work some more. And we can fill our roster full with part-time people, and you know, call to see if they can cover shifts now and then. And sometimes we get lucky and we get somebody that can cover a shift. But I'm here to tell you, a lot of times that's not the case. We send out messages asking for a shift to get covered, and we have a hard time getting those part-time people to willingly come in and work. And it's not that they don't want to carry their own weight within the department, but they have full-time jobs, they have families, they have other obligations. So it is a challenge sometimes to get those part-time staff to come in and help out. I guess in closing, what I would like to say is that I would strongly urge the council to keep that position. In fact, you know, to go a step further, I would almost, as I alluded to before with the types of calls that we've been dealing with here lately, in a perfect world, I would love to keep the position, the floating position, and add an investigator position. We could sincerely use that investigator to handle some of these cases that require a lot of legwork, you know, phone calls and computer work. And that would allow our officers to get out and do that patrolling that so many people would like to see. You know, it's, as we sit right now with that one person down, even to just get those officers the time off that they might like to enjoy that they've earned, even becomes a challenge. Sometimes we gotta move schedules around and ask people to, you know, cover this shift or cover that shift, just so we can make it work for people to take off the time that they've earned. So like I was trying to say, in closing, I just really would urge the council to reconsider this notion that we don't fill that position. We do need that position. We definitely depend on it, so.
Mike, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
We left that line item in there for that patrol officer, as far as I'm told, so we have not cut that line item for patrolman, number one. Number two, on the roster, if you have quite a few people that are part-time that are unwilling to work, I know you have one now that's very willing to work, I've been told it's working out.
Yep.
So why not tell them that it's just not working out if they're not coming in, and look to get a part-timer or whatever, two or whatever your thought is, rather than having this saga, they don't wanna come in and help you cover shifts because of their life, because of their 40 hours. I mean, it's not doing the city any good. It's frustrating you more, and they're not helping out the overall picture.
Yes, we could do that. We could tell those people, you know, you haven't worked in months. We're just gonna part ways. It's no hard feelings, but we're gonna go ahead and part ways. We could do that. And the one officer that you talked about that is working quite a bit right now, nothing against him, but I bet you if you check with me in a year, he's not working as much. It's just the way it goes. People are excited about being in the job and doing the work, and that newness kind of wears off after a while. Other obligations come along, kids have softball, you know, whatever. And we can do that. We can hire part-time, just make it a revolving door, and hire part-timers, and they'll work for us for, you know, while they're eager to work, and when that slows down, we could say thanks, but you can go ahead and turn your stuff in now and head out the door.
Don't we have a couple part-timers that are attorneys? Some of them that work for whether they're on staff or part-time they haven't been around, like you said, for months. So what value is that doing for you? I understand wholeheartedly what you're saying, but what value are we getting out of that non-compliance if they can't because of their lives? I mean, why are we hanging on? I'd like to know from you, why are we hanging on to them?
Well,
If they're not working at all to help you.
those people do work on the occasion. I'm not saying they never work, but on a rare occasion, they might come in and work. Traditionally, some of those people who we don't see very often come in maybe during good old days to help out with that type of stuff, help out through parades and stuff like that. So we certainly appreciate that too. I guess the other side of the coin is you might ask, what are they really costing us?
Right.
By keeping them? I mean, at this point, they've got our uniforms, we've put them through the training. By keeping them on the schedule and they fill a shift here and there, what are they really costing us?
I just thought it's not really giving you a coverage or a value. If once they're in a blue moon, they might come help.
We've got some officers who, you know, it only works out for them to maybe cover a Sunday. So if he's my Sunday guy, I appreciate him at least covering those Sundays, so we'll keep him. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I mean, we try to work with them as much as we hope that they'll work with us. Because we understand they have full-time jobs, they have other obligations. And the idea is that we put them on our roster so they can hopefully help out here and there. So, and to be honest, when I did first take over as chief, I did do what you were suggesting with some of the people that were on our list. I said, you know, we haven't seen you in God knows how long. If you don't intend to work, you know, let's just go ahead and part ways. And we did part ways with some people.
Is there a limit to how many part-time officers slots that you will keep?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So we can continue to hire in.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
Well, just for the record, Mike, that position hasn't been cut out of the budget at this point.
I know. I just know that the idea was kind of floated out.
We
there.
talked about a lot of things.
Yep,
but it
and
hasn't
that's
been
just,
finalized.
I was asked to kind of give my perspective.
No, and I appreciate that. I respect that. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Dean. So just kind of, that was just, you know, because, you know, obviously, first and foremost in front of you is the police department budget. And no, we did not. I did go back in and reduce that person that we'll be hiring since Cassidy Dietz is not going to be coming back. down to 25, because obviously they're gonna be new, with our service and start, you know, relatively around that $25 mark. As far as expenses go, you know, I think that we have taken out as much as we can. We've got, and I'm sure that you all read my email regarding, last Tuesday, as a representative of the city of Evansdale, going to the budget meeting for, consolidated communication. I made a motion that we, because Evansdale has been carrying those fees, spending the most of any city in Blackhawk County for about 3 or 4 years now. So, you know, until there's some understanding, to me, it seems like there's some things that need to be fixed. Evansdale and actually LaPorte City. So anyway, I made the motion, that we go by, instead of 80% calls, 20% population, it be completely by population. So that motion was seconded and it was passed. A lot of deliberation, a lot of debate.
What was that again, Mayor, the 80-20, what was that?
80% calls,
Okay,
20% capita. So now we're on 100% capita, and our fees they were gonna be upwards of 143,000, 163,000. Now our fees have went down to 77,000. We haven't paid 77,000 for probably a good 5 years since they switched it to this 80-20. So we were looking, right now, we're at 120 this year, this fiscal year. So, we were able to greatly reduce that, and, hopefully next year, it'll become part of, Blackhawk County's emergency management levy. And it could be taken out of the city budgets altogether. That is our goal. I mean, we have a lot of work to do, let's just put it that way, as a oversight committee for the Consolidated Communications Center.
so is this pretty much in stone then, kind of, or is this still negotiable in
No,
progress?
it's in stone.
Okay,
Yep.
so this next year it'd be the 77 versus the 100.
Right, so if you look at that line item dispatch, I had 120,000 in there, and now it's went down to 77 plus, radio access fees is added back in there.
That's a good thing, that's a good thing. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
that's,
Thank you, appreciate your
yeah,
time.
that, you know, that, obviously that, gave us some breathing room. And, you know, there's other things that, you know, if there's anything specific, because, you know, we are scheduling our max levy hearing, we're at minus 0.045% less than what we are right now, for our max levy hearing. So, I mean, I open it up, you know, if there's anything, I know that we've been going through this for, well, we're on our 3rd month for budgeting, and I think it's been, good that you all have been wanting to be involved in this. But we're coming down to the wire now, so we need to start, you know, finalizing our budget.
I have one question, Mayor. Can you explain to everybody how the values of the homes and the revenue versus the cost, how the tax levy rate is going down a percentage point, 0.045? A lot of people have asked me, how does that really happen? I mean, we bringing in more revenue, right?
We're bringing in more revenue, and then it's our tax dollars went up.
Okay.
So our tax dollars went from 136,400,000 to 137,429,000. That's the difference. We're only asking for $12,000 more.
I see that on the thing, yeah.
Right. So we're able with, you know, with police fines, with ambulance calls, with, park revenue, with, you know, it just goes down the list. You know, as far as the revenues go, right now, a big one is, we were earning about 15,000 in interest, and by switching those accounts to that high interest, checking account, you know, right now, we're earning like 13 to 15,000 a month instead of 2. So that's went up from, well, last year I actually budgeted 30,000, I budgeted 45,000 for that. You know, but that all depends on the economy.
You know, I do the same thing on
Yeah,
checking account, we
Yeah.
get interest on it,
yes. So that's, you know, 100% dependent on the economy. I mean, you know, we were at 0.31% at one point during this, you know, the past 3 years, and now we're up to 3.13%. 3.13 or 31? 3.30.
3.31.
3.31 it was last month. So, you know, that's, you know, that's a huge, that money we didn't count on, let's just put it that way. So, yeah, so we were able, you know, to offset our expenses by a lot of the revenues that we have coming in. So, and that's our team. That's our police force, that's our ambulance, and, not so much fire, but our ambulance, because, you know, we've done some things to increase what we receive as far as when we do our ambulance billing, you know, building and construction permits, camping, you know, it's all that. Hotel, motel, you know, because that obviously has went up, so those, you know, those are pretty much reality in what we're doing, so that helps offset what we have to ask as our tax askings from the county.
I just found it kind of funny with $1 million revenue increase, only $12,000 in taxes increase. That's pretty low. I thought it'd be better than that percentage-wise, but it's not apparently, huh? That's
No.
all it is.
Yeah, no, it's,
Just 12, I'd say.
Yeah.
888 last year, and it's 900 you're predicting this year based on the
yep,
values, yeah.
yep,
I was just hoping that we'd have more than that. That's what it is.
yeah,
Gotta keep growing, gotta keep investing in our community
that's right.
to get it to grow.
Yep. And I think, you know, I've really, the last 3 or 4 years have really been diligently doing that and making improvements and, you know, making improvements to our park. You know, now we're doing this dog park, we're gonna do the boat dock, you know, those are all gonna be improvements. It's gonna be, it's like, yeah, people care. People care in our community about having a lot of different variety of things for people to do when they do come to our community.
I had a question for Chief Dean again. Do you have any civil lists that, possible candidates that for full-time, or you're gonna re-energize now and start again?
We'll need to retest, we've exhausted the list we have.
Excuse me.
Are we having anywhere in this budget, I was looking at it, I didn't get up here because I explained you why they,
Yeah,
of, whether it's CIP or a line item, I've heard talk about the fire department things, I've heard talk about the police department things. Are we gonna implement a line item that would be for futuristic things instead of coming up with the year before we're doing it, that where are we gonna come up with the money?
well, and we can do that, and, you know, and I think in that email, I also stated that right now, that leaves us with, reducing our dispatch fees. That leaves us at a surplus of 43,588.
Right.
We could literally move that into, just other general government, or we can put that, you know, I could put it in for, right now, we set aside 7,500 in the fire department for safety clothing.
Mhm.
They had wanted more, I think 20,000,
That was
So-
15, that's-
We split it.
or
Yeah,
maybe it was
15 and we
15.
split it to
Okay,
7,500. We
yeah,
cut it back
that's
some,
right,
but
okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good thing when we can put money in reserves to help offset this stuff. And we can do a simple, you know, this is what we're setting, this is what we're setting this aside for. We can put, we're setting it aside for a future ambulance that could be whatever in 3 years. And this is how much we're setting it aside for. Maybe we're setting some money aside for parks, and this is what it's gonna be used for. Those are really realistic. And, that's not even a 5-year plan, that's probably even more like a 3-year plan.
Because the things we know we are going to need is, we're gonna buy another squad car. at
Yeah,
some point.
that's in
There's a
there.
road to,
That's
you know,
already in there.
So.
That's
correct,
budgeted.
But in the future, so
Right.
beyond, not even next year, I'm talking, let's get into 1, 3, 5, and 10.
Yeah, right,
We know we're gonna buy another squad car. We've kinda talked about every year, we have to budget 50, 60,000 in that 1-year budget. Well, here you take a little bit,
right,
5, 10. Now, all of a sudden, you do that each year, now when you need to buy a squad car,
it doesn't
you've
seem
got
so
a huge
much.
chunk already, maybe half, ready to
Yeah.
go. So now you don't have these large hills and valleys. We're gonna need an ambulance.
Yep,
It's just inevitable. I mean, just as long as they are and as old as they are, we're gonna need one of those. Eventually, a fire truck, hopefully we can squeeze out, because that one's really, although they're not much more expensive than an ambulance, but same thing, Parks brought up their pump truck. That's not gonna be a cheap fix for something, so just those little things. I like what I'm seeing and hearing and in talking with the mayor, that I certainly don't want taxes to go up. And I think that's what even my response was years ago when we put that money aside, that's what got pulled out, but it was, we were raising taxes, wastewater treatment plant, additional fees, additional things, and we were starting to invest in the capital improvement plan at that point, which all makes sense, but to me, right away, all up front saying we're gonna raise taxes to start planning for a rainy day is really tough to swallow. So now, if we can do it when we're not raising taxes, when we're responsibly handling what was left over, and saying, yeah, in a way, we could give it back, and that's necessarily not a bad thing, but it's not gonna last. It will go back up. So we might be able to cut taxes, but we know it's gonna have to go back up.
right,
Those dips and valleys are always hard to see from a taxpayer.
right,
Because even me, hey, they saved me money, but next year if they raise it, I'm really mad. We never wanna see taxes go up. So if we can hold it and start to use these funds to plan for what's gonna come, to
Right.
try to avoid an increase, or as much of an increase as what it would, I view that as smart planning, in my opinion.
As long as the revenue stream and things kinda keep rolling that way, if we end up having a bad year, you gotta kick back.
Yep.
We're not gonna have that smiley face picture the next year if something happens. I mean, right now, this year, yeah, it doesn't look that bad overall, but I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying,
See,
Justin.
in past administrations, that's what they had. We had a 4-year plan, or we are, and the other, even your grandpa and all that had 4-year plans. You knew in 4 years you're gonna need a new squad car or a new fire truck or something. The fire truck, of course, went longer than 4 years, but it's a little more expensive. The city hall was built on, actually, when the city hall was built, we had the cash to pay for it. There was very little financing on the thing, so just each administration put a little in, and when it come time, then we got a big grant from the government, so
yeah.
the building was just about paid for when it was built, so.
Because we've got, is it a 3 or a 5 right now for capital improvements plan?
Well,
Based off of a 5-year?
what we've been talking about is a 5-year
5-year,
plan.
okay.
Yeah, what we like, to do in the next 5 years. That's what we've been talking about.
But you need to set away the cash to accommodate that.
Yeah,
It isn't, you save a little each year, over 5 years. It's not, this is what we're gonna spend in 5 years.
Yeah, but just like you're gonna have a new squad car every 4 or 5 years. If you put a certain amount each and every year, you got enough to pay cash for it, and then it doesn't affect the budget.
Yep,
yeah.
you knock out those hills and valleys for sure.
Well, and I think we've come a long way just by saving and not, really, it's just by saving and not spending. Because there was, at one point, the general fund was at like 200,000, and now we're over $1 million, and that's where we need to be. Because you should be able to pay for, a year of expenses without, if you had to go without. So that's the rule of thumb there. So we're in a very good position that way, and, but, this will even be better if we can actually sit down and put this stuff in and put it in the starting of our capital improvement plan. so.
I guess that kind of comes hand in hand with what you're saying, Mayor. The one thing I was gonna bring up, this point, like on the, talking about capital improvements and having a, build a fund, I would like to see myself, this, parking lot at Myers Lake held off. And, the reason being, we got a lot of street work that's a lot worse shape than that parking lot. And if we took some of that money and made it over a couple of 3-year project, and then put that money in this surplus, gives us a little bit more kick to go to a couple, 3 entities rather than one entity. That's what I'd like to see, on this tonight, if we're finalizing or looking everything over. I went down there and took a good look, and I understand, I've had a talk with Tom, and I don't think I can take you around to 6 or 7 streets in town that you can about fall in, that need work. Gilbert's one, you and I have talked about it. East End, Clark, there's a lot of them over by the school that are really bad. And I think that's where we should be spending our money if we're gonna be planning and do things through the road use, to do that. And every little nickel and dime we can get from a department to put into that fund, it just gives us a much more positive jump start for everything. And I don't think that parking lot's gonna fall apart and dissipate. I would like to know, and I don't wanna get off the topic of the budget, but I'd like to know where the property lays down there, who owns what, between the home, the grass, the rock, the parking lot. I'd really like to know the disposition of all that there, so we know exactly what area it is. And then too, Tom told me that, his estimate was a couple years old, so I'm, from what I've seen in past years, I don't think it's probably gonna come in at that unless we get the city that they do that, but I haven't had any information this 2 weeks to see that. But, that's one line item that I was looking at, amending some towards this talk that we're having now for, revenue.
Steve, that quote that we got for the parking lot, that was last summer.
Okay, well, you told me a couple years ago.
No, that was last summer.
Well, still, my same thought is
Yeah.
still the same. We're gonna do it and think of everybody. I mean, put it in line, categorize it, like she said, put so much here, so much there, and when we get the money, we'll do the project, and we won't have to go into general fund or tax for it. And that's what I'd like to see. And I don't think that parking lot's that bad, Tom, honestly. I think that could go a while. You have other things you wanna do. I think you probably have other things that are more priority than that parking lot. You've told me some things that are, maybe more money, and that's what I'm looking at in the futuristic, what you're thinking
Right, but this
versus
just
what I
adds
see.
on to what we need to do in maintenance in the parks that we're eventually gonna have to do. You keep kicking this can down the road.
No,
I guess my
Tom,
question is how much does this change the tax valuation of the city?
I don't know,
by
I'm
taking
just
it out?
asking these things tonight,
Right.
Tom.
Because, you know, at some point, these projects have gotta get done, and I've been pushing this ever since I've been on the park board. And granted, we've been getting things done.
Right.
Okay, our next big project is gonna be the bathrooms down there. That's gonna cost you probably a lot more than what this parking lot is gonna be, and, I haven't even begun to look into that as far as what it's gonna cost. I've looked at some ideas, whether we do it a pole building structure, or we do it a prefab structure, just like, houses and stuff like that. You know, what's gonna be aesthetically pleasing to the park down there, as well as, improvements to Gardner Park. And we're looking at putting a bathroom also in Gardner Park. Hopefully, we can raise the revenues of that park and people using it. In the springtime, I know, and I think fall, Rick's not here, but the, volleyball courts are being used a lot in the summertime.
Yeah, they are.
So.
I'm just
this is
looking at the
going up.
dollars, I'm looking at the overall dollars, not just your dollars, every department's dollars, and prioritizing what's the biggest need. And that's why I brought this up, but I think it could still go into planning. It wouldn't go down where you're saying it's not gonna be thought of. It would be a project in CIP or whatever, that it's there, and then we're gonna come up with a list of what we're gonna niche at every year. And if that comes up to the top next year, that, hey, that's gonna go first, fine, but I agree with the rest of the council, we wanna be looking at the fire and safety and things like that first, before we go doing parking lots. But my concern is the streets in this town. We have a lot of bad streets. And I've had a lot of people telling me, Steve, I'd rather see some work on the streets than spending more money at Myers Lake and paving a parking lot. Now, I'm not against it, Tom, I was on the park board for a lot of years, I have no problem with the park board. But I'm just saying, I wanna prioritize a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, road use money. Maybe we can get a little bit more done that's more serious on the roads, and still look at your project. I'm not saying to ignore it or not to do it, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just thinking it's not at the top of the list of what we should be looking at out of the chute taking off with what we wanna do is all I'm saying. I'm not saying no to it at all, I'm just saying prorate it like we're talking about doing with the things we just initially talked about.
But you understand from a park board standard, what we're looking at, it's at the top of our list because it's maintenance that we've gotta do to keep the parks safe and keep the parks.
And maybe
Good
Chris,
operational.
Chris, if you come in with any kind of thoughts about you guys doing it, what the cost would be? You can't do it. Well, I think it needs to get on.
Actually, Chris, would you mind standing up and please explain to him what you found out when you called Star Equipment?
They don't even rent those machines, and he said that that's just not something that they practice, is people just randomly getting a lay-down machine and wasting all that material.
Chris, I'm gonna ask you one thing, if you would check for me, please, and get back to me, please. You know Kelly, out on McCoy Road, next to Jeff? He's a cement guy, asphalt. He bought out Aspro's, or not Aspro, but Lucas Equipment, and he's very thirsty to wanna do blacktop. I'd like to really give him an opportunity to go down there and look, and he's eager for work.
His name's Kelly?
Kelly, yeah. You know Jeff, if you just stop down there and see what they say, that might be a savings to us. I mean, it's an option rather than just going to Aspro.
Yeah, 'cause like I said, that quote came in last year for $55,000. And we just got a list today from,
BMC.
and prices on that are going up, what, $3 a ton?
For 3/4 road stone, that's our cost, they went $3.
So, I mean, if that's going up, you can imagine what asphalt's probably doing too. So, is it gonna be cheaper to wait? Or is it gonna be better to get it done and not pay the extra $15,000-$20,000 next year?
I don't have a crystal ball, I'm just
I
looking at.
don't either.
I'm looking at the
I
whole
don't either,
picture.
that's why I'm fighting for it, you know, to get it
I
done.
understand where you're coming from wholeheartedly, but I wanna be able to split the dollars around to everybody and make sure we get a program for the streets also, because a lot of people, don't take this wrong, they do not like all the money being spent in the parks. You're doing a great job, you're increasing revenue, I have no problem with what's going on, but I'm just trying to appease, what can we do to work together to squeeze, to do something here, and we're still gonna do that.
I guess I would argue with these people that say that you're spending all the money in the parks. You're not spending all the money in the parks. Most of these projects that we've had, pretty much all these projects that we've had in the past have been done with grants.
We've had matching money to them.
Yes, but could you imagine if you had to pay the actual price?
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just your match? I mean, then I could understand when people would say, hey, we're spending all this money in the parks. We're spending all this money in the parks right now because our parks have not been upgraded since the 50s. I mean, the equipment that we had in these parks, I played on. You played on, you know, and John played on. You know, it was time because of liability issues in the city that they had to be done. Thank God we got grants. Thank God we got Blackhawk Gaming or whatever to help us to do this. But when you say we're spending all the money in the parks, no, I don't think so. We're getting a lot of this through grants. And just like the bathrooms and stuff like that, I'm gonna be looking for grants. Whether we get REAP grants or gaming or whatever, I'm not gonna look at it and stick the whole price on the city. If I could get a grant for a parking lot, which I highly doubt we can do, I would be on it,
Tell them we'll let them come out and put their handprint in it for us,
yeah.
write their
But
name
that's
on
something that we it'd be virtually impossible to get a grant for it.
I understand, Tom, but it's not something that could not wait a while. It's not like when I go out and look at the streets, talk to people, look at the streets, that we try to cope at. I mean, we've got a lot of street issues in the town that
We
we've talked about
understand.
here about doing things.
I
And
understand.
you gotta prioritize where you wanna
I
spend the
understand,
money.
but the street projects also come out of road use.
No, not entirely, but a
That's
lot,
correct.
yes.
The majority of it does.
That is correct, yeah.
I said my piece on what I think about it.
But, and I'm not, you know, I would like feedback from other council members regarding this as well. I know that we have, you know, we have spent about, $500,000 probably the last 4 years in the parks. You know, however, again, you know, it's been, we have received grants, and we have a lot more to do in the parks. You know, it's a fine line. It really is a fine line. But I would like, other feedback from
Let me say
other
one
council
more-
members
Mr.
on,
Mayor, let me say one more thing. In the past 9 years, the parks have brought in $1.4 million in revenue to this city.
And
Think
you-
about that too.
And you have spent it over the 9 years, Tom, in your budget expenses.
We haven't spent $1.4 million out of the city coffers. for
If
those
you look
parks.
if you look at what your budget is annually, and you look at what you spend,
But the
it's
grant
pretty
money
close
is
to the
also
wash.
being put into our budgets.
I understand that, Tom.
Okay, you can't count the grant money because that's money that's coming in from the outside.
I'm not talking about, I'm talking about your actual base budgets that I've seen in past years, prior to these 3 years of grant money. That's what I'm talking about. You and I have talked about that.
We haven't spent no $1.4 million.
We can sit down and look at 9 years. I'd like to do that.
I clearly disagree.
We'll look at all your expenses, and we'll look at what your budgets were and what you brought in the last 9 years. We'll see how it comes out, then we'll know.
Yep, I got every year what we brought in for the parks.
Okay. Speak up. Somebody else speak up.
anybody else? We need to wrap it up in about 2 minutes, so anybody else have any, feedback regarding the, asphalting of Angels Park? It is in the budget right now. You know, it could be put, you know, in a fund also for future. You know, that is something that we could do.
I think on the streets that need repaired, and I agree with Steve on that, because I've looked at them. Leave the curb alone, then you don't have the sidewalk and the approaches, everything to do. And break it up like they was gonna do and put an overlay on it, and I think them curbs are, even the one on Central, I didn't see that much wrong with that one. It hadn't been in there, there's, most curbs you get, 4 or 5 layers of asphalt on some of them before they tear them out.
Well, I mean, you know, we have to utilize some of our funds in road use as well. I've already explained that to you. Like, we're taking it down about another about 200,000 this year. But, you know, if you guys want to take it, I mean, if you're planning for projects, you can accrue money in the road use fund. However, that being said, when we do our street finance report, they, you know, they want to see those dollars being used on
Yeah, that's what
repairing your
it's for, yeah,
streets.
I agree.
So I don't have a problem. That doesn't have anything to do with our levy.
No.
That doesn't have it, that is completely road use. And if we need to look at other projects, Chris has a whole list he's given me of all the issues on different streets throughout the town. But, you know, you're saying this now, but like 3 weeks ago, I sent out to you an email to talk to you about West Gilbert Drive. We have opportunity to get funding for that from River Forest to Grand. However, no one responded to me. And it's like, this is money the DOT, from the DOT, this is gonna be 3 or 4 years out. What's that? Oh, I did send it out because,
I
I-
didn't see
I
nothing.
thoued I'd responded to you that it was an appropriate project. You told me about the hump at
But-
Brandon.
yeah.
The way
no
I
one-
understood that we was gonna do it without Jewish funds, that's where I think where Steve or somebody
We were talking
objected to
about
it.
Yeah, that's.
Well, right
knew
now,
nothing
you
about
know,
road
right now
use.
is the application process for those funds. And again, that could be FY 25, 26, 27. You know, it's a long ways out, and you know what happened in 4 years to Lafayette Road. And if you look at 4 years on West Gilbert and some of those areas, you know, that's why we have to be proactive. And I think that this has been a year where we've started to be a little bit more proactive. I know, I saw.
No, I go, I want you to finish, Mary. What-
No, I think that we've started to be proactive and we need to continue, get these things down on paper. You know, I can easily send you a list that Chris sent me with all the construction projects that need to be done
What would
in
be
this
the
city.
matching money I give? You wouldn't know that. We had engineering
wouldn't
done
know.
on it before.
Yeah, we do.
I move we
Yeah, we've
adjourn the
paid-
meeting.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I will ask for an adjournment of the budget workshop, please.
So moved.
Second, I guess.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And in case I forget, check, I just looked through the email.
It's been probably maybe 6 weeks ago.
6
I don't remember seeing you either, so.
Yeah, it was the 1st of January when it came out.
I remember seeing it,
I'm not.
but I thought we had discussed it.
Okay. I'll check afterwards, so.
Okay, welcome to the regular city council meeting, February 21st. We will have our call to order and pledge of allegiance, if you'd please join me.
I'm here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Bergman, Nichols,
Here.
Osborne. Here. Siebel. Smock.
Here.
Number 4, approval of the February 21st, 2023 agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Well, first on our list of many items we need to pass tonight is our public hearing on proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the proposed wastewater treatment plant improvements 2021 project. The public hearing is open at this time, and it's for the public to, if they have any questions, et cetera. Also council, all that I ask that you come up to the podium, please state your name and your address. Okay. What?
Jerry,
What's
do you
that?
have something you want to come up and say about the wastewater treatment plant? Oh, okay, all right.
No, this is a public hearing, Jerry, regarding the improvements to the wastewater treatment plant. If there's no comments, we would like to move on. I would like to have Alex step up to the podium.
Tell us the motion.
What's that?
You want a motion to close?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion.
We
to
don't.
close it. Oh,
We don't do it.
All right.
We're not doing it anymore.
Okay,
I've gotten a new legal opinion on that.
okay. So we on number 6 then, or? number
Yeah,
seven?
the resolution 6678, finally approving and confirming plans, specifications, form of contract, et cetera.
So, I guess, do you have any questions on that, or do you want to?
I really don't have any. Council, do you have any question on approving the final plans, cost estimate, form of contract?
Is it what it's always been?
Yeah.
With, yeah, the updates and all the current clients and all the other pieces to it.
I will take a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smock.
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Osborne. Yes. Siebel.
Yes.
Okay, 7 is consideration of the bids for the wastewater treatment plant improvements 2021 project.
Yep, so I'll give a brief overview of the bid opening, which was, I think, a week from Tuesday.
Last Tuesday.
Yeah, last Tuesday.
Yep.
So engineer's estimate on the project was $7.5 million. We received 2 bids on the project. The low bid was Woodruff Construction out of Waterloo. Their bid was $8,498,400. So at this point, we are evaluating the bids and trying to get a handle on whether that really is the market for the project. We received a bid from Woodruff and also from WRH out of South Amana. Both bidders are highly qualified and experienced in this type of work. Unfortunately, the bid came in above our estimate. So we're in the process of just evaluating those bids right now and hope to report back to you at the next council meeting on direction forward. Woodruff's bid's good for like 60 days, so you don't have to take any action tonight. In fact, we recommend you table consideration of award to the next meeting, and we'll go from there. And we'll have a solid recommendation for you on what we want to do moving forward.
Okay.
Anything else you want me to cover?
No.
Do you want me to cover any of the stuff that we have talked about tonight separately?
No,
Okay.
no, not now,
Okay.
I would say. So what Alex is requesting is that we have a motion to table it until they can further evaluate, just because it did come in $1 million more than we anticipated.
Yep.
I'll make that motion.
I had a question on it. What do we do if we table it or deny it in 2 weeks? We want to get this project going. What's going to be the,
If it isn't gonna take that long to,
Yeah, so, I mean, at this point, we'd recommend tabling it for 2 weeks. Like I said, the bids are subject to acceptance for at least 60 days after the bid letting. So you have a couple more council meetings to take action
Yeah.
before you potentially award the contract.
Yes.
So, delaying for 2 weeks here is really not a big deal in the grand scope of the project. Because that number is on the table and will be good for
Right.
that duration.
Yes.
Did we get a second?
No,
I'll second.
okay. Roll call, please.
Nichols?
yes.
Osborne?
Yes.
Siebel?
yes.
Smock?
Yes.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah,
I
and then just
appreciate
to
it.
Wrap
and-
up, we'll be here in, I think, 2 more weeks.
Yeah, and we'll be in
hopefully
touch, I'm sure.
have a- Yeah, and have direction for it for you guys, and in the meantime, we're, working with the contractor and with Maggie Berger and Spear to try to figure out how we can make this work, so,
Okay. Sounds great.
okay, thanks.
Thanks, Alex.
Kelly?
What was that low bid again, you said?
Yeah, the low bid was Woodruff Construction, it was $8,498,400. $400.
Or that was really fast.
Oh, yeah.
What was the amount of the second bid?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the second bid was from WRH of South Amana. Pull up the tabulation here. It was $9,756,500. So
Oh, wow.
about 1.25 million higher than Woodruff's low bid.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Dan.
Number 9, bid opening, request to accept high bid on the 2013 Dodge Charger, and Dana will be opening the bids at this time. You want me to write them down?
Sure, either that or I was gonna just write them down after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so the first bid I have is from Jerry McIndosky with $2,600. Next bid is from Andrew Kessler in the amount of $3,105. The next bid is from Brett Patty in the amount of $2,613.18. Wow. And the last bid is a gentleman named Mason in the amount of $2,219. Looks like that one was the low bid.
So we're going with the highest bid.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So-
I'm so sorry.
It will be Andrew.
It would be Andrew, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yep.
So I have his, I'm sure he'll just be in touch with us.
Yeah.
He stopped by today, so.
Yeah, I think he'll just talk to you guys tomorrow.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good.
Move
Thank
to
you.
accept it.
Yes, please.
Move to accept the high bid for the 2013 Charger to Andrew Kessler. Is that
Yep.
correct? For $3,105.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? He's the one that got our last one.
Really?
Yeah.
As long as you gotta get over 18 cents there.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still in low bid mode from the wastewater treatment.
Yeah,
plant.
sure. We have a hearing tonight, a request from Scott Norton. I don't believe he has come. That is a nuisance abatement. I know that you have read that, but generally speaking, that they would attend the meeting, so.
Then we really can't do anything, can we? Because he's gonna have a chance to,
Right, I would take a motion to table.
I'd make that motion, being he's not here.
I guess, just in discussion to keep things moving along, because I also could see this as a loophole. If I never show up, and we just table it,
Right, yes,
I mean, it's been on, he wrote us a letter. I guess I'm of the opinion he's asking for 2 more weeks. I take that as in what he would like us to move on. I know we have a motion on the table, but just as a countermeasure to it, that's where I was sitting to grant his request, so.
The one thing I have about that particular address, that's been going on for years. That's not a new thing where health or roadway is an issue. So I'm not gonna be very liberal on meeting his request when he's been asked. I know in several past building inspectors and Steve, and it hasn't come into compliance, but I would go along with Justin if we wanna give him the 2 weeks. I think we've done that with other people.
do you want to rescind your
Yeah, I'll
motion then?
rescind my original motion. I'll make the motion as stated by Justin, the 2 weeks. Give him the 2 weeks to come to us for a conversation. Right?
No, not for conversation, it looks like
For
improvement.
completion,
For completion.
Yeah, so that he would have some form of drastic movement to fixing the nuisance,
What
is
does
how I'm
Steve-
understanding.
What does Steve say about that location now, his opinion?
yeah, I mean, he was avoiding Steve for a while, that was the issue. So we need to move him forward, and if you guys are in agreement to give him 2 more weeks, considering the weather, I think that's very kind and very thoughtful on your part.
Where's it at?
It's on Norma, 318
Oh,
Norma,
yeah, okay.
yeah. Next to, I think, a house that Ellen owns,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I will take since we have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And then just for clarification.
Yes.
That is 2 weeks
Yep,
to abate the nuisance.
yes,
That's correct?
yep.
That work? Okay, understood. All right. Good for me.
Public discussion this evening. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of consent agenda.
Oops, Sorry.
Go ahead.
So moved. Hey, we're on a roll.
In a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 13, approval of resolution calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Siebel,
I had a question, but I'd say yes on the bills.
Go ahead, have a question.
I see on the bills, did you go to a clerk training class?
I did,
Why would you be going to a city clerk training?
because I have to keep up on my certification.
A city clerk?
It's a certification that I've earned through the city.
I never knew another mayor that done that, went to.
Well, it's very good and it's very helpful, and I learned a lot.
No, I'm just
And
asking.
a lot of
why.
information to bring to the table, too.
All right.
Is that something that Dan could go to too, or no? Is that something?
Yeah,
that's not supposed-
she's going to hers as well.
Oh.
I didn't go to any last year, and I have to get 15 continued education credits every year.
For city clerk training and
It's,
being
it,
there?
it's, and I have my financial training as well, so they go hand in hand.
I didn't know, I asked.
Number 4, was that all? Was that your only question?
I gotta
Okay.
finish the roll call.
Okay.
Smock,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Number 14, request by mayor to approve purchase of copier in the amount of $4,100 with a 1-year service agreement in the amount of $438. with Gordon Flesh Company and authorize mayor to sign said agreement, and this was verbally approved.
I'll make that motion to approve that request that we already pre-approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? Request from mayor to accept the low bid for replacement of the west library doors and install new handicap receptacle in the amount of $82.75 as budgeted for FY '24. As you see, note here, it will not be replaced until July in the next budget. However, I wanted to be able to lock in the price. You saw the difference that we'd received for the doors themselves. It was like half price. And also for the receptacle, I asked for another bid for the handicap receptacle and did not receive it. We do a lot of work actually with Cedar Valley Mobility, and I gave them ample time to bid the project and did not receive a bid. So the other company is the one that installed the handicap receptacle out here for this door, and I think they gave us a real reasonable bid.
Are they gonna have the same setup outside for handicappers, or is it gonna be on the building?
It's gonna be the same setup as we
Same
have
as
right
what we
here,
had.
yeah. That one that they have over there, the doors and that handicap receptacle have been, well, I think we've had Cedar Valley Mobility out here at least 6 times this year. So it's been kind of nonstop, kind of an intermittent problem, and I think a defective unit that I can't buy anything else for. And that is budgeted, by the way, for FY '24.
So I can make the motion, I'll make
Yeah.
the
I
motion.
already said I'd make a motion.
Oh, I didn't hear
You
you.
just had a question about
Yeah.
mine. That's why I was just waiting if there was a second needed, or I couldn't remember if it.
Okay, so if Steve will make the motion,
I'll second it.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
all right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Request from mayor to enter into one-year agreement with Dutton Law Firm for the police department legal services.
At what cost?
It's actually $195 an hour. They don't utilize him a lot, but they're there if they need him. So, and since it's, Chief Dean has been working with, Josh Moon for what, the last probably the last 5 years. And then he came in, when Laura left, he became our attorney as well. When we separated from that agreement, Chief wanted to retain him because he's really does a great job for him. We don't utilize him much, right?
No,
So
It's just per hour basis.
it's a per hour basis, and it's just for the police department.
You're good, chief? No concerns, good there?
he's done a great job for us.
Okay. And no further retainer, it's just add as needed, kind of a PRN
That's right.
billing? Okay.
As needed per hour.
Okay. I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 17, request from mayor to extend agreement by 30 days with Jim Benda on Lot 1, Eagles Landing. We're just going back and forth on the development agreement. Our attorney actually took over that process and is waiting to hear back from their attorneys. So when we extended it in January, they should have extended it by 2 months instead of doing it all over again, but
Who's doing that, our attorney?
yeah,
it. Well,
but it's in their attorney's hands right now.
But when we keep moving it back, we're paying attorney bills with our attorney playing with their attorney, his attorney.
Actually, we're not. Our attorney prepared the development agreement for us.
Okay.
Now, this is a development agreement that we can use throughout the whole process. Through every lot that we sell, all we have to do is change the language from lot 1 to lot 2 to lot 3 to lot 4. It's a very I mean, it's a great development agreement. There was one that was offered to us by an attorney that frequently works with Chris Fischels, and there's just things in it that we needed, you know, more information in there for our city. It needed to be kind of tailored to our city and this particular development. So, our attorney did a great job preparing that agreement, and, you know, we're just waiting to hear back from Jim Benda's attorney at this point.
I thought they was interested in 1 and 2.
It's 1 and 3, but we've already extended 3. That actually doesn't expire until March 30th. It's just when we extended this.
Same people?
It's the same people.
He just wants
We'll
to expire both at
get
the
through
same
this.
time.
It's just, yeah, we'll get through this. It's our first one, and
I'm comfortable approving it because there's a lot of work of his attorney's fees and stuff going into it for him to not be interested anymore. So
yeah.
I'm still very optimistic that it is moving very close. So I would move to approve that request, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mayor Council reports. I will have it on the next agenda because we still haven't have time yet to consider applying for the STBG grant for West Gilbert Drive. I think that's something that we want to start planning for now, since it could be 3 to 4 years out, and go through that process. When I had sent that email to you, I put that most of the engineering is already done for it. All we have to do, it's gonna cost us about $6,000 more from our engineer actually is gonna have to make a little bit of changes to it, because I'm saying from River Forest just to the other side of Grand. So initially, we had engineered it for all of West Gilbert. So he would just have to make some minor changes, because you have to have a preliminary plan in order to apply for the STBG funds. So-
100% right?
It's 80,
80/20.
but you know, again, this is future funding. This is, you know,
What do
money
you mean
we're
by
not,
future?
we're not gonna get it till probably FY '26 or FY '27. So,
I won't be here probably.
now, don't start that. So I will, you know, get that on the next agenda, so, you know, we can be considered for this process. I think that that's really important. You know, since we are kind of getting close, you know, to needing to have our public hearing for the budget, you know, please, I'd encourage you to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. You know, I'll send you out that worksheet that Chris gave me, well, I think probably a year ago, about the roads that need to be addressed in the city. I think that we should plan on changing the road use budget to reflect another at least 200,000 to put towards overlay. Right now, we have 300 budgeted.
On what street?
Well,
Or just, you want them wherever?
throw the dice. It doesn't have to have a street hook
Okay,
to
I
it.
just-
What we're doing is we're dedicating, right now, 300,000, but we'd be dedicating 500,000 to repair streets this next coming fiscal year.
I understand.
I mean, I think that would be a wise decision on our part.
I think the costs are gonna keep going up, so
Right,
better get them done when we can, or what we can.
yeah. Well, as you know, as you'd heard Tom state earlier, you know, a ton of rock, roadstone, went up by $3 a ton. That's substantial. I mean, they'd already raised, when was the last time they raised it? Just last year, right? And I think it was substantial at that time as well. So, right, You know, we were thinking things would start coming down, but they haven't right at this moment, so we'll just keep planning, and I'll get some stuff.
Cost of housing is coming down, so,
It is starting to come down.
existing housing.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a sign, probably a good sign.
That's a sign either nobody's got any money or,
Or no one wants to pay 6% interest because we've all been so spoiled?
well, the interest rates are going, they're getting better.
For us. Council,
And Mayor, do we, I brought this up at the last meeting, can we get it on the agenda to talk about fireworks? Holiday, to get it limited down to, I mean, I think 3 days is too much. Council, everybody can decide, see if we come up with a consensus, but, I just think it's too long. I know Waterloo, I heard Cedar Falls added a day, I think, or Waterloo might have added a day or took a day off, but I think we need to look at it. And how does everybody feel, be thinking about Christmas time, New Year's, having fireworks? I think it's something we should,
well, I don't think anyone did it this year. It was so stinking
yeah,
cold that,
there was some.
There were a couple, but it's cold and it was pretty minimal.
yeah,
You
I
know,
mean,
5 minutes.
we didn't even have any complaints, so.
That's good. I think it's something we should have on it for discussion to see if we wanna move from what we got or what. I did ask last time.
Would you like, I've heard it actually on the news at lunchtime today that, you know, Waterloo and Cedar Falls were collaborating again. I'd be happy to reach out to them as well and see what they ultimately,
To align policies. or
yeah,
something.
to align policies, so.
And then do we just get back to you on the budget anymore conversation, then you're gonna format that, whatever you get, and go from there, cause I mean, council didn't say nothing tonight about really too much, I thought they would, as far as the finality to get the for the maximum levy rate.
Well, the max levy, that's just saying, we're not going over that tax asking
Do you know
of
that
900,000.
Do you know, I mean, like, for thought, do you know what the rate's gonna be per 100,000 when people ask? Do you know what it, I know you said .0045.
Yes.
That's
No.
less than what,
7.
It's gonna be- yeah, it's right here.
3
seven
something.
what?
Yeah, 7.974, just say 7.98, just say, yeah. Right now, we're at 7.979, we're gonna be at 7.974,
No, okay.
yeah. We're going down by 0.45, so,
you're asking going down, but what's the valuation? Is it going up?
They want $1
well,
million down, or-
you know, that is not gonna be the case, because actually with the rollback, it's going down. Because the Senate, I don't know if you guys been listening to the legislator, but the Senate did choose to roll it back to 54,000. So that's the benefit to the consumer. And we haven't got those final numbers yet. We may throw all this out the window. So it's good we have a little bit of extra in there for padding. Because that's gonna affect our valuations.
Right, that's why I was asking that.
Yeah.
question.
Yep.
So does everybody understand you're supposed to get back to Deanne, so we come up with a final budget overall? Questions, concerns, takeouts, add-ins? I've mentioned mine, but I haven't heard nothing from anybody else. Trying to wake him up.
We don't finish, Mayor?
What's that?
I just wanted to make sure before I interrupted, so.
No, go ahead and interrupt.
Just a couple of plugs. I know we're talking about a little bit, but the new Cedar Valley Sports here for us, the T-ball softball signups already started this week. So again, just great to see them already out, active. They're fundraising. They have Casey's cards, the $20 cards. They've got another fundraiser, I think, coming up at Chuck E. Cheese. So again, just those are the kinds of activities we want, drawing good, fun, healthy, safe things to our community. So just want to mention that as well. And then another plug, come see, well, you don't have to come see me. I'll go in the back if you don't want to. But this Saturday down at the Ambets, the annual chili supper
Oh, yes.
fundraiser for the fire department will be had. So good times. Weather looks to be halfway decent, so not too hot, not too cold, no ice, thank goodness, like tomorrow. But feel free to come down. Firefighters still have tickets for pre-sale, and then otherwise they are 8 ahead and 10 at the door. So feel free to come down and say hello.
What time?
11 to 7.
And we have tickets if you wanna stop by afterwards.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, can you elaborate on the raffle ticket for because someone had asked us about that today, and
Sure.
they were thinking that they were gonna be at City Hall for purchase.
Oh, yep. So, each year, of course, we do raffle items again for additional fundraisers. The two big items that the tickets are up for pre-sale, so they can be bought anytime now, are a couple of rifles from Springfield Armory. Those are available anytime ahead for pre-sale. Otherwise, raffle items the day of, there is a smoker grill package, pellet grill with all kinds of good stuff with it. I forget the brand off the top of my head, but Ted's, again, always is a great supporter of the fire department and things for our community. So, big echo there for him. He hooked us up with a heck of a price for that, and then threw in a bunch of grilling goodies and accessories. So that'll be getting raffled off, and then a PlayStation 5. So, some for the families to fix the meal while the kids are in playing video games, apparently.
And then for pre-sale for tickets, do they just go to the CRC to purchase them?
Contact
The
those, all the
raffles.
tickets, yeah, so the raffles, the grill and the PlayStation are the day of, so they're only available Saturday, and all the drawings are Saturday.
Okay,
The rifles, there are 2 of them, each are limited to 250 tickets, and those are not displaced because we are keeping them just because there's only 250. So we're making sure we account for every single one of those. The fire department members all have those.
okay.
So, if you can catch, like, Rob Gipper, our paramedic, or Ryan Phillips, if they're at the station during the daytime, they can grab some, because we do have some locked up at the station as well. But otherwise, we are trying to be very watchful of those. Just, gun raffles can be sensitive, so we're making sure we're very, very clean and transparent and,
Right.
safe with it all, so.
Tom,
To expand on Justin's remark about Casey's cards for Cedar Valley Youth Sports, the money raised from the sale of those cards are to put in new playground equipment
Yes.
down
oh,
at
yes.
the ball
right.
diamonds from the equipment that had to be taken out last year because of damage.
Yes.
So,
So already trying to give back into the community beyond themselves, so.
They're really
Excellent.
doing an awesome job of fundraising. I'm amazed at things that are coming up I've seen.
They've been working very hard at it. I've been very impressed. And my children are gonna partake for the first time this year, so I'll get it both
Awesome.
sides, so.
Good,
Report then.
Yep, I'll get it from both sides. See
excellent.
how many times I get kicked out for, you run the bases.
bring a chair. Get it off the thing.
There you go.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?